Welcome to the Unexpected Podcast, where your hosts, Lee and Amy, carry on simple conversations about everything from life experiences, the current culture, God, and everything in between. And because Lee has put Amy through years of surprises, this is her time to surprise him with unexpected topics he won't be privy to until the microphone is on and the camera is rolling. This is the Unexpected Podcast. Well, who's going to say welcome?
Welcome to the Unexpected Podcast. Here we are again.
I like it. I'm glad to be here.
Feeling better today.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. That last episode was pretty heavy. It had been a heavy day, and I think today we'll just have a little bit of fun.
I like fun.
I like fun too. And some of you may have noticed that we've mentioned in some previous episodes that we are open to our audience members, listeners out there, suggesting topics. And so if you have a topic idea, you can send it to amy.unexpectedpodcast@gmail.com. But, I happened to mention this to a few people just in conversation and at different events.
Right.
And I had my first taker, someone who is heavily involved in the world of comedy. So we're not necessarily going to actually, when I tell you the topic, you'll realize that I don't know that we could talk about it for very long because I don't know much about this topic. But let me just go ahead and mention it because shout out to someone who's willing to give a funny idea. And she said we should talk about snails.
Snails?
Snails.
I love snails.
I don't know anything about snails.
Oh, come on.
But they're slimy.
Yeah?
Yeah. They make food for some people.
Escargot.
Right.
I like escargot.
And, I've never tried escargot, but I would try it if somebody put it in front of me.
I had redneck escargot. I saw it growing on the wall, and I ate it. It was weird. Slimy.
Oh, yeah, I think that would be weird. Now, I did eat some octopus recently, so.
That was really good. I had some of that, too.
Yeah, I know. And you're a very adventurous eater. I'm not the most adventurous eater. Well, let's say this.
Excuse me.
I will try just about anything once, just to say I've tried it. But you tend to maybe enjoy the more bizarre foods.
Adventurous.
More than I do. Okay. But so I didn't think we could really go with the snail thing, but that was a wonderful suggestion. We like all suggestions. But you know what? It did remind me of my favorite corny joke.
Uh-oh.
You know it? Do you remember?
I think I do.
It's really corny. Okay. What does a snail say as it rides upon a turtle's back?
What?
Wee. All right, that's the corny joke of the day.
All right, then.
Hey, speaking of jokes, those of you out there, you may or may not know. If you know us personally, you might have some idea of this, but even if you know us, you may not know this. But we typically make up some kind of silly joke just about every day. Now, when our schedules coincided a little bit more, almost every morning, we have one or two corny jokes.
Yeah.
Just, it's what keeps us going, right?
Absolutely. Humor.
And I wish I would have written a lot of them down. I mean, some of them are so bad, they're not even worth repeating. And occasionally, you'd come up with something and I'd be like, that's pretty good. That's funny.
Bad as in quality, not bad as in.
Right. Oh, yes. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah,
thank you for clarifying. Yes.
We don't do the
bad as in quality. Just not like, not a great joke. You said one the other day. Actually, you know what? Let me find it. I thought, I'm going to start writing down,
here we go.
Jokes. Now I've got to find it, though.
Oh, wow.
Okay. It was pretty good because we were cutting up some vegetables and different things, and I was cutting up ginger. Mm-hmm. And you looked at me and said, if you get sick from eating that, you would have a ginger ailment.
Yes.
Now you're laughing at your own joke.
Yeah.
But I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny. That was worth like.
Well, when you're cutting it up, you can go gingerly.
Okay. Sorry, folks. No, that was good. I like it.
Okay.
I love it. Look, I like anything that makes me laugh, and That's a play
It's
on words.
good medicine.
It's right. It's good medicine.
Good medicine.
And good play on words I like. So, all right. But let me find where we're going because now I lost my place. Uh-oh. So,
know your place.
yeah. Keep it going, Lee. We can't have any dead air.
Dead air.
We can't have dead air.
What is dead air anyway? Is it like stagnant air that you can't breathe? The air is full of nitrogen instead of oxygen and you just suffocate.
Yeah, that's what dead air is.
Right?
That's one definition.
Okay.
All right. Well, okay, so I told you that we were open to topics. Well, someone else gave us a topic idea.
Okay.
One of my coworkers, shout out to my coworker. I didn't get permission to use her name, so I'll just say shout out to my awesome coworker who I was having a conversation with, and she said, that'd be a great topic. And I said, you are absolutely correct. So
was it Beverly?
Beverly. No, it was Bernice.
Bernice?
Yes. Or maybe it was Eunice.
Like Bertha.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun.
Choose your name.
Yeah. It wasn't any of those. But Bernice.
Agnes. Flossie.
Okay, these are great names for our chickens.
Absolutely.
Which we don't name because, as you said, the rule of barnyard life is you don't name your animals.
Don't get attached.
So
they're going to go away eventually, either to your belly or to the grave.
Right. So to me, they're all just Esmeralda or Betty Sue or,
Yeah.
But
yeah,
those are some good names.
We digress. Go ahead.
We're way off track,
Go
aren't
ahead.
we?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right. So what we were talking about at work was selective memory. So I had a really interesting situation happen a few years ago because memory is selective, right?
Yeah.
So anything that happened in your life, you have your memory of it. You have your perception of it, but you may be coming at it, number one, from a bias. So maybe something was going on with you emotionally at the time that happened. And so maybe your remembrance is skewed, or maybe you're not operating with all the facts and all the information.
Oh.
Okay. So I had a situation one time that was just, it was an epiphany for me. I realized, oh, wow, maybe my memories aren't always accurate. So what happened was we had, in my parents' house, there was a picture of my two sisters and me. And you probably know this picture because it was always in the room that we used to stay in. And so my older sister, has this nice sweater on. She looks really fashionable. My younger sister had this cool, now this was the 80s, this really cool like velour outfit with like stripes. And I mean, it was just really cool. And I'm in this outfit that looks like, no offense to Loretta Lynn, because I like Loretta Lynn, but it looks like something Loretta Lynn might wear or might have worn back in the 70s. Okay. And it was like the material of it was almost like quilted, like it almost looked like a quilt and then like some lace trim.
Right.
I mean, yeah. And so, I've always looked back at that picture like, oh, wow, look at me. My sisters look so cool and I look so goofy. And I said something about it like, to my younger sister, I said, wow, Mom always picked out the worst outfits for me, like I took it personally. And she made a great point. She's like, well, you never spoke up. And I'm like, oh, wow. That was like a light bulb went off. Yeah. And I realized, oh, that's true. I would just go along, even though inside I didn't like it. But over time, my thoughts had evolved into thinking like, well, I was targeted or like, why did I always get the most lousy outfits and they got the cute outfits? Oh, okay. So that made me realize like we look back in the past and it's not always what we think it was. But along those lines, my coworker and I were saying how not only do we not always have an accurate memory, but we also have a selective memory.
Right.
In that we forget all the good things that happen. We forget all the good things God has done. It's very easy to forget the good things and focus on the negative. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's another heavy subject. Good job.
It's a little heavy. I know last time it was like
super heavy, but
yeah.
You know, the comical side of this is life that you have. The life that you have right now is the perception that you have made.
Okay.
What you look at in your past, how you remember it, can determine who you are.
Absolutely. Right.
And I think that's, you know, that is the beauty of Christ coming and transforming us by the renewing of our mind. So sometimes you got to get rid of your stinking thinking, get rid of all of that stuff that's up there, and focus on the good, because there's a lot of good points in my life. And there's a few bad.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, but I have a choice of which one to focus on. And sometimes you got to piecemeal the bad together with the good to see the good, because the bad made the good shine. But you got to think about it a little bit.
That's true. That's true.
It's like, yeah,
it's true.
But that perspective, look at it from that, like, mom did this. And I feel like that hurt me bad. But look at it from mom's perspective. She was doing the best she could.
Right.
I'm not speaking of my mother or anything. I'm just speaking in general. That person did the best they could. Or they didn't know any better. So, you know, the perspective, man, that's huge. So you wrote a book about my life.
Right. Called Forever Lee, also available on Amazon in print and ebook format.
Now, some of the things in that book are as I remembered it.
Sure.
Could they be a little off? Absolutely.
Of course. And that's a big disclaimer.
That's a disclaimer at the beginning. There,
sure.
You know, this is somewhat of a this is what I remember and how I remember it. Right or wrong, that's how I remembered it. Now, if you want to, you know, critique me on that, that's fine. That's all right.
Yeah.
I'm open to being wrong. It doesn't bother me to be wrong.
Right.
But if I'm right and you try to change it, that bothers me.
Sure. But because you just want to get it.
I want the truth.
Right.
I want the truth of everything. But there's so many times that people don't know what the truth is because they've skewed the truth in their own life and their own mind.
Right. Yeah.
I remember getting in fights in school all the time. I was picked on. I've had my head in toilets. I've had my head in in trash cans. I've been lockers. I've been shoved into lockers. You know, I was a little bitty nerd kid, you know, and you know, got picked on a lot. Well, you know what? I forgive everybody. We were all kids, and you know.
And were you ever aggravating?
I was aggravating, and sometimes on purpose.
Did you egg it on?
Sometimes I egged it on because I wanted to stand up for myself, but I was just too little. So, you know, there were times, you know, I got thrown. You know, remember those troughs that there were two types of troughs. You had the one that you went to the bathroom in the boys' locker room. You don't remember that because hopefully you don't remember that.
Well, we didn't have them. Right.
Y'all didn't have them, but
I've seen them, but we didn't have them.
In the boys' bathroom, we had these big long troughs that everybody urinated in.
Yep.
And I've been thrown in there.
Ew.
No fun. But I've also, you know, the big rounded half moon trough that you wash your hands in. I've been thrown in there.
Right.
You know. Does that make me not want to wash my hands or get around troughs anymore? No, but, you know, I could look at that and say, okay, I get it. They were acting out and they were probably picking on me because they had a bad home life or they had issues or they had something going on. And that's why they picked on me. I tried not to pick on people. I tried one time, and a friend of mine who was very, very tall and very big, He was I think he's 6'7", 6'8", wasn't he?
Big. I don't know if it was.
He was a
that
very
tall, but he's
large
very
fella
tall.
and played on the football team. And I thought, you know what? If I pick on him, everybody else will leave me alone. So I went up and I punched him in the chest. And, so I just jumped and punched him in the chest. And he goes, oh, I had no retaliation. He didn't come back at me. This was in 9th or 10th grade, I believe it was. And I don't know if it was the day after or a couple days after, I was walking down the hall. He hit me so hard in the chest, it cracked my sternum. I had to go to the doctor. I left school. He thought I killed him, or he thought that he had killed me.
Yeah.
He hurt me bad. So he's all nervous. So come to find out later on, this person went to his pastor and said, this kid's picking on me. And okay, keep in mind, this guy's 6'7". I'm little bitty. I'm like pipsqueak, little. Yeah. And the pastor said, well, what are you going to do about it? You're huge. Just hit him back.
Yeah.
And so he did. Probably 5 years later, maybe 5, 6 years later after that, 4 years later, something, 5. Anyway, we became friends.
Right.
And he ended up being the associate pastor.
Right.
And the pastor that told him to hit him became my pastor. Or the pastor that told him to hit me became our pastor. And he told me the story about how it scared him and all this. And I'm like, man, I was such a dweeb. I was so wrong.
So the moral of the story is, if you hit someone, you might become good friends later, but don't go around just hitting people for no reason.
No, the moral of the story is don't be stupid and just hit a big guy.
Right.
Because it hurts.
Right.
Don't pick a fight with somebody who's twice your size. So
I can't relate to that because I wasn't ever in any physical fights, at school. Yeah. I did have someone like run into me when I played basketball and like hit my sternum so hard that it knocked the wind out of me.
Right.
And this girl came up and she was like apologizing. She was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I had my hands in the air because I think the referee said, put your hands up or something and they were just helping me like
try to get your breath,
get my breath back. But from the bleachers, it looked like she and I were in like this big fight and like I was telling her off. So my friends were like, oh, you told her, didn't you? You really told her. That's what it looked like. That was my one moment where I looked like, tough.
I'm tough.
But
that's awesome.
All right. Well, we're talking about, memory, and good memories can serve us in a really positive way. And so, when we look back and we see the good things in our lives and we see the things that God has done, I mean, that increases our faith.
Yeah.
That helps us to move forward.
Yeah.
And it also helps us to remain thankful.
Yeah.
So it's so easy to forget about the good things that God has done in our lives. But this is interesting because we see a number of examples in Scripture where they would actually set up stones as a memorial. So one of the first places you see that is in the book of Genesis. Jacob had an encounter with the Lord, and it was such a powerful encounter that he took the rock that had been his pillow, which I've never understood that from Scripture, that he used a pillow to lay his head on.
Or a rock as a pillow.
Thank you.
It'll do that too.
Yes. Thank you. What are you doing there? You checking on the audio?
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
I know. He's our sound guy.
You're not supposed to say anything about that.
I know I'm not, but it just threw me off.
We're live.
And now I know we're live, and I can't discern between a pillow and a rock. The point being, he set up a rock as a memorial. The next time that we see that happen is in the book of Joshua. So when the Israelites are going into, they finally are going into the promised land. And just as God had split the Red Sea for them to escape from Egypt, he also parted the Jordan River. And so when they went across, they set up 12 stones as a memorial. And the Bible says they set them up so that in future generations, they would go ask their parents and their grandparents, why are these stones here? What do they mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that would be an opportunity to say, this is a reflection of what God did in our lives. And so we need to have the same kind of memorials in our life, not necessarily a physical memorial,
but mile markers.
And we need to be intentional about reflecting on those things, because that helps us to keep moving forward.
Right. And it's very important to take into consideration past things. I've told our kids several times, and I tell people this all the time, your true wisdom is learning from others' mistakes. Mm-hmm. And if you look back on the things that people have done in your life and you learn from those mistakes and you don't repeat those mistakes,
right?
It's wise on your part.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that the same outcome will happen or anything like that, because sometimes different things happen for different people. Mm-hmm. But I will say that I have watched people throughout my life and did the opposite, and it turned out well.
Depends on which people you're watching.
True, and that's what I'm saying.
In certain situations,
I've watched some people, and I've been like, "Yeah, don't do that. That's not smart."
Right. Right.
Ooh, that hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
This is, hey, look at that snake. It's the most venomous snake in the whole world. I'm going to pick it up. Don't do that.
Right.
Right. I'm going to,
Yeah. What's the saying, though? If you're going to be dumb, you've got to be tough.
If you're going to be dumb.
But don't be dumb.
You got to be tough.
Don't be dumb.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was one guy that used to say that all the time, and that I worked with, and he flipped a front end loader over on his side, put a big lightning bolt scar on his forehead. And first thing he said was, "Well, if you're going to be dumb, you better be tough." And I was like, yeah, you're pretty tough.
Pretty tough. He's got the scars to show it.
That's the truth.
You got a few scars, but
yeah,
I do remember the one time, I don't know, we were having some car issues, and we were in a parking lot, and you said, "I need to look under the hood." And you did something where you got your finger caught in a not good way. Thankfully, it didn't go as bad as it could have.
You just ripped the tip a little bit on the finger.
But you are so tough. I would have probably passed out. But you said you remember, like, as you were reaching in, you were saying to yourself, like, I probably shouldn't do this.
Yeah. So it was like, I think it was a belt that was squeaking, and I for some reason,
with the engine running.
It was like with the engine running. It's like a kid. It's like, "That's hot. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't." Ow!
Yeah,
that hurt. And that's where I was, and it did hurt.
Yeah,
it hurt very much.
Yeah.
I didn't do it again.
Right.
I learned from my mistake.
See,
which I should have learned that a long time ago, because I've worked on cars my whole life.
Yeah, you just had a moment.
I had a moment.
Yeah,
we all have moments.
You guys ever had a moment? You're just like,
that was
shouldn't
dumb.
Do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all you have to do is watch those like fail army videos, and I can only take so much of it. I mean, it's kind of funny, but I mean, obviously people don't get severely hurt. Hopefully they wouldn't be showing those videos. But, every time I think, okay, it's snowing outside or it's icy, you're going downstairs, use the handrail.
No, that's too easy.
Yeah.
It's too easy.
All right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up, but
like a present.
In the present. As we talk about the past.
Oh,
so many.
Look at you going philosophical.
But but this is just a great time to challenge all of us, I think, to focus on the good things in our lives. And I think the older you get, the more you realize, or the more you come to appreciate the things that were good in your life, and you kind of let go of the things that weren't so good, and then
just remember that if you're going to be dumb, you better be tough.
Yeah, but don't be dumb. So on that note, don't be dumb. And all right, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much. And don't forget to like this video, and please subscribe to our channel, because when you click that button, it's easy. It's free. Just click subscribe. And that helps us out. So we just ask that you would do that if you're watching on YouTube. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anywhere else, we just ask that you follow us.
Like and share.
Like and share.
Like and share.
If you think somebody else might enjoy this, please like and share.
Share.
All right. Well,
do you believe in life after love?
All right. On that note, see you guys.
Bye.
Don't forget to like this video and please subscribe to our channel. Drop your comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If you prefer audio podcasts, please follow us on your favorite streaming platform.